Hey guys, welcome back to BSL Season 20 Hasuleague. This is the Swiss Round 4, and we got the second match between Ratti and Neoko. Neoko starting the upper left-hand corner as the yellow Protoss, being blessed with a Kakaru outside of the fog of war. Upper right-hand corner, we got Ratti starting as the blue Protoss. As previously mentioned, Neoko's macro, fantastic. That being said, if you do not have any probes, you cannot macro. And Ratti definitely was examining that line of play last match. Unfortunately, still not able to capitalize. It was a huge shift. I reckon that for whatever reason, maybe it is the range, that there's just a very small range in difference between a lot of these players. But for whatever reason, the games this season of Hasuleague have been phenomenal, in my opinion. Absolutely phenomenal. My only regret is that there are not more Terran. We've got Kiko out there, but it would be lovely to see some Terran in this mix as well. I'll shout that out to the general foreigner community. If you're a Terran player, start playing in BSL a little bit more often, please. Come on, we need you Terran players out there. But that being said, last match was fantastic. I definitely recommend it. This time we're going to be moving to Deja Vu. Another 4-player, potentially... My sense of Deja Vu is it tends to be a little bit less macro-oriented, only because of the distance between the natural expansion and a potential third. And the difficulty, oftentimes you'll park troops at this location. You'll have to defend both locations. That being said, a lot of these games have... Oh, looks like we're going to get first scout right off the bat, both directions, potentially here, by the way. Gateway opener on one end. Double gate from Ratti, and I'm wondering if that was... And this is an 11-12 gate. I'm wondering if that was in response to the initial scout or if that was the plan all along. And it looks like we're having a double gate from Neoko as well, perhaps with the same draw or the same reasoning. Could be they were just thinking, nope, let's just go double gate off the bat. Interesting play here from Ratti, already dropping a defensive pylon inside his mineral line at a distance. So it's slightly disruptive, but it's not ultra disruptive, and it's certainly less disruptive than a manor pylon. Neoko doing something similar, but putting it along that corner edge, where it's a little bit less of an interference. Manor pylons can be absolutely enormous if you can execute them against your opponent when they are 2-gating, and can be the difference, particularly when you have 2-gate versus 2-gate. Initial Zealot off both ends. Neoko's probe taking a slight bit of damage. It is going to... Well, I thought it was going to draw out, but it looks like it's going to flip around. The assimilator has been dropped from Neoko. He's moving up to go ahead and check to see whether an assimilator has been dropped, but there's no assimilator. And there is an additional pylon, which suggests Ratti is going to go much more heavily into this initial... Well, maybe not. So dropped an additional pylon before assimilator, just dropped a little bit later, actually, is what it looked like. So initial zealots on both ends. Are both players just going to sit in home base? It looks like neither player wants to push off the initial 3 zealots to test the waters. For a second there, I thought Ratti was going to do it, dropping the pylon before assimilator, but just wanted to get that supply along that edge. That being said, Neoko somehow up 2 workers. Again, he does not ever miss a half second when it comes to worker line production. Just absolutely phenomenal. In the meantime, getting up his cybernetic score. The probe is locked in on both ends. 1 additional zealot on Ratti's side of the map, by the way. Might be the... Never mind. Looks like 4 zealots joining opposite side. An additional pylons being dropped. 2 zealots being dedicated to the chase. Right now, I feel like both players are going to be relegated. I will be interested to see once the initial Dragoon is out. Still additional zealots being produced here from Ratti. So this is 5 zealots on this end versus the 4 on the opposite side, by the way. Initial Dragoon in production. I'm curious why Ratti felt the necessity to build the 5th. But once the Dragoon's out, it'll be curious to see whether we have anybody... Oh, okay, Ratti able to slip his probe out. The 4... I don't think those 4 zealots are going to let this probe out, but that is going to allow Neoko to stay interior to confirm that there is in fact range, and might be able to confirm whether there's a robotics or not. Dragoon trying to engage alongside. Pylon being dropped towards the forward edge, which suggests we're going to see 2-gate robo along the corner here. But Ratti is also saving several resources. And that probe that was out on the field earlier looks like it's going to take another shot. Wants to confirm whether a natural expansion is in construction or not. Right now, Neoko has not is not made movements, nor is he storing resources to go for that. Third gateway dropped here from Ratti. So he is hoping, effectively, that Neoko is going to go... I think he was hoping that he would go 2-gate expansion into robotics. Instead, it looks like it's going to be 2-gate robo. But is it going to be 2-gate robo into expand? Neoko sending another worker out. Ratti has all sorts of troops to try to deny information along that edge. And the probe going to trail its way in. Unfortunately, Neoko not at the forward position to deny scouting information. And this might cause... Yeah, and seeing absolutely nothing there, that might cause Ratti to play a little bit more defensively. Even though he is, in fact, opting for a 3-gate in the midst of this. Neoko spotting, and it's going to draw back. Are the troops moving out now for Ratti? That would be an interesting play. So he's going to be 1 gateway up, but at the close reinforcement points, I expect the armies to be still even in the midst of this. So he's hoping to go for a flat exchange. Neoko joining him at the ramp. This could be an advantageous engagement point, though. 1 zealot up, and Neoko having trouble getting all of his army to bear. And keep in mind, this is 3 gateways versus 2, with robotics on delay. Zealots able to get on top of the Dragoons. Neoko pulling off the Zealots initially. And now, nice focus fire on Neoko's part. 4 versus 4 with 2 Zealots remaining. The Zealots trying to run up to make something more happen, but with this army reset, it really favors Ratti, because it's now 3-gate production versus potentially 2. Even across the reinforcement point, no robotics has been dropped, no tech out of the robotics facility. At this stage, Neoko knows, however, that it's 3-gate as far as the follow-up, and Ratti might have built, through execution and build order, might have solidified this. A pylon's certainly going to get dropped. I don't think it's going to be a canceled Nexus, but the 4 Dragoons making their way up. Now with the pylon and the Zealot there to provide some disturbance, Neoko re-engaging. The Dragoon actually, sorry, the Zealot getting some good hits, but some nice movement there on Ratti's part. He still has to overcome a closer reinforcement point and the high ground advantage. Robotics is up. Unfortunately, it was shuttle first rather than Reaver, so there's still going to be another wave and a second opportunity for Ratti to barrel up. Probes need to be pulled to defend this here for Neoko. Oh, cute little shuffle here to try to keep the Dragoon health a little bit larger, but I think that's going to be it. Ratti now pressing in. He's going to be able to kill the Reaver as it spawns, and these probes are way too late off the line. Provide some support, and that shuttle's gone. 2 Dragoons and more reinforcements making their way across. Shield battery drop, but again, it just feels like it's too little too late. Although the Dragoon's getting... A couple Dragoons getting picked off here. 3 Dragoons still remaining. You can see where the timing, the reinforcement, well executed, I gotta say, on Ratti's part. But as I say that, the probe's able to get yet another Dragoon kill. And again, with the macro fight, Neoko has had workers to work with, and the probes, holy cow, the probes doing all sorts of damage, and they pushed, are you kidding me? They pushed the Dragoons off the Reaver lines, where I thought this was too late. And a foregone conclusion, now a Reaver and a shield battery are holding the high ground. However, Ratti's still going to have the advantages. He's got that Nexus behind this. Regardless, Neoko with that fantastic macro of his up 5 workers. And as soon as he gets a handful of Dragoons and potentially another shuttle after this additional Reaver, he should be able to push down. And if he upgrades speed in the midst of this, might be able to get some additional damage at additional locations. Ratti donating a few troops in the midst of this. At least, I should say, a Dragoon. It's going to have to back off. Still sitting at 3 gateways. He's got the economic lead. He has his own robotics up. Already dropping the second assimilator, by the way, so very likely going to make a quick push for tech. Probe taking a few shots from that Dragoon on the low ground. And a bit of a shuffle. Now that that second Reaver is out, that... Previously, the attempts were... It looked like that was contained. I gotta say, I am impressed by Neoko. In most other instances, with a bit of micro, that would have been game. But the probe pull and being able to trap those Dragoons, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Nexus dropped. And this is honestly, even though Neoko is at the lower bracket stage, his macro, I would not be shocked if his macro carries him deep, deep, deep in this bracket. So getting that Nexus, it's going to come online significantly later, but again, because of the macro, he's not that far behind in the overall worker count. is still down a touch of supply, but nothing that's not insurmountable. 3 gateways up. I think the big issue potentially will be that forge and when +1 weapons is queued up, and also when Zealot leg speed becomes a factor. Because if we see Citadel of Adun +1 weapons, Zealot leg speed, that can oftentimes be one of those pivotal shifting points. Meantime, probes making their way down, a very perfect probe pull here for Neoko. Ratti, at the end of this, up 2 workers, has his defensive cannon up, is just getting his 4th gateway, so we'll be up in production overall. Ooh, actually, as I was saying, the perfect probe pull was actually a half second too early. Ignore that. Scratch the record. I did not rewind it, erase what I said. In fact, it was the opposite. Dragoon getting chased down by that observer. Ratti actually going for shuttle speed rather than Neoko. And Dragoon's hunting down and getting a peck of damage out there. Ratti thinking about, he's in many of these instances gone for a very aggressive third. He does have a production lead, a slight production lead with that 4th gateway. Although Neoko is tacking on his own gateway. Sorry, I had 2 additional gateways in the midst of this. Observer rounding the corner. Eggs being wiped out, by the way. Ratti actually wanting to get aggressive. Potentially with the shuttle speed, get the Reavers in his opponent's face as quickly as possible. Which I don't blame him. You can't leave Neoko out for long. Although in the meantime, Neoko is actually pausing worker production. It looks like he's going to go for a gateway flood and try to go for an aggressive 2-base counter to try to deal with Ratti that way. We'll see if it pays out. This poor probe. He's doing the either that or lazy probe. Maybe he's having the dance time of his life. Looks like Ratti did in fact find it. Let's see if he goes for... Ratti is just now grabbing that 5th, and we'll see if he goes up to 6 gateways. Is this going to be 8? So we got... Or is it going to be 7? It's kind of a difference. 8 is maximum production. 7 is close to maximum production with a slight option to maybe have enough resources for an expansion down the line. But I think this is going to be just barreling damage here because Neoko, again, it's very rare for him to pause probe production, so you know that if probe production is paused, he's thinking about, and he's already got, if you do the math, a significant ground army. He's on a timer though, +1 weapons is on the way, and the Scarab damage upgrade also, which will, and Ratti's 6 gateways are now on the field, so it'll be 6 versus 7 at a distance. No Zealot leg speed being upgraded, however. The Observer catching troops mid-map. Reaver speed will provide a little bit of safety for those Reavers, but Ratti unfortunately walking into what could be a disadvantageous situation for him. Kind of baited into dropping a pylon there at the 9 o'clock. I think he was Neoko trying to pretend like he was going to expand. Ratti now engaging. Neoko spread out waiting for him. The initial Reaver shots a little bit more in Ratti's favor, but the follow-up shots, even though the shuttle's been wiped out, clearing a lot of the Dragoons. Ratti still getting a good amount of this fight, especially because you have these Dragoons that are effectively on the low ground firing to the higher ground, but at the end, it looks like the troop advantage is in Neoko's favor, and it's a closer reinforcement point. Shuttle gone, Reavers are going to get wiped out. But is there enough remaining? So we got about a 20 supply differential, 2 Reavers without a shuttle. Is this enough to strike some damage? It's at the very least, we have a defensive pylon there at the 1 o'clock location, potentially enough to deny that. 4 Dragoons are actually fanning out to the 9 o'clock to wipe out that pylon. And again, I wonder if this is a feint here from Neoko, or if he is in fact going to drop that 4th base. He hasn't pushed his probe count as though he's going to, so wiping that out. He is in fact, okay, interesting. He is in fact going for the 9 o'clock. It's going to take him a while though. He'll have to kick back into the worker count to make that happen. But right now has a formidable army out on the field. Ratti might sneak in a base bottom left as well. He's got the probe out to grab that 1 o'clock, expanding effectively into his opponent, which is a little bit scary. Observer along the edge just in case the Reaver drops. He's going to go ahead and get his Nexus down. That's not too far behind Neoko's Nexus. So Ratti in a pretty solid situation. He's got +1 weapons, by the way, at the end of this. Still hasn't dropped his 7th and 8th gateway. Neoko checking that bottom right-hand corner just in case. Is Neoko going to go for a sneaky Nexus? Okay, no, never mind. I thought he was... You see the shiny blue. Sometimes you get excited and you're like, oh no, that would be the ultimate hidden Nexus. I don't think Ratti would ever expect a hidden Nexus there. Probe has managed to cut through the lines to try to get some scouting information. It's going to get wiped out by a Reaver. So a Reaver actually scooping up right this second and blockading. But both players sitting back and macroing up. Ratti with the supply lead, with the worker lead, weapons lead, and I think that's going to continue over the long haul because he's able to, because he continued to build the probes, he's going to be able to saturate that natural, the third a little bit more aggressively. And I'm also wondering, I'm thinking Neoko might have been thinking this, is on this map Deja Vu, because of, this is kind of an interesting play here actually, because of the defensiveness and the difficulty in securing that third. You can see that both players are getting it after the main is mined out. So potentially he opted to not increase his probe count, recognizing he'd effectively still be at 2 base by the time the 9 o'clock location was coming up. So just save the supply potentially. I'm wondering if that was the play in the midst of this. Ratti with a just fanned out Dragoon force. And this is the antics I was talking about, where you got to keep this army kind of mid-map position to deal with assaults at either location. High Templar are out, which will definitely help. And these are small boxed-in corners, you can see. So once Psystorm is on the field, it changes the equation. But we do have a drop at the natural expansion. Big hit on probes there from Neoko. Also able to wipe out the cannon. Might even get a High Templar, never mind. Able to pick off some additional probes before escaping. Shuttle's taken no damage, really. And the Reaver able to escape with its health as well. Ratti still maintains the worker advantage in the midst of this, but Ratti recognizing some of that army out of position, pressing forward. The High Templar finally getting some Psystorm on those 4 Dragoons. This is high ground to low ground fight, which is definitely in Neoko's favor, by the way. High Templar barreling forward. It looks like the Reavers are finally joining. This is a closer reinforcement point for Ratti. We got more Psystorm making its way up, but that high ground to low ground looks like it's really doing well for Neoko right this second. A Psystorm taking out a Reaver, and now it's 3 Reavers for Ratti, and I don't care if you have low ground advantage or not. This is 3 Reavers you need to back up. And with that, with the close advantage, the close map advantage, it looks like Ratti able to secure a supply lead. Shuttle dropped, but it looks like it was taken out. Missed the drop here in the midst of that fight. Never mind, another drop here at the 1 o'clock. I'm doing a bad job picking up the drops. It looks like that shuttle was wiped out there at the natural expansion. I almost want to like rewind it. But 1 o'clock location looks like the Reaver was able to get a pretty big hit on the worker count. And Ratti making his way across the map, potentially thinking about doing the same. Does Neoko have +1 weapons yet? Okay, he does have +1 weapons. He's working on his out leg speed right this second. I find this to be a very interesting part of PvP, where the natural and the third are up, but you really need a significant amount of map control and a significant supply lead to feel comfortable grabbing an additional base, unless you're just hoping. Oh, shuttle almost getting picked off right there, by the way. Neoko engaging. This is unfortunate timing for him, because Ratti might have an opportunity in the midst of this distraction to wander up and get some hits alongside. This is 2 cannons to deal with, however. So speeding across, nice, wow, Neoko spotting it instantaneously, drawing a lot of the troops back. 1 cannon down, didn't lose a single worker in the midst of that. Just 2 cannons and pulling right back out. But you can see neither player feeling comfortable grabbing an expansion, and so it's a slow build-up. And it could, I wouldn't be shocked if the game is effectively decided 3 bases versus 3. And if the shuttle can get another drop in the midst of this and get some probe kills, that would be absolutely enormous. Right now, I don't see any shuttles in flight. Actually, the Reaver count also light. High Templar starting to fill in the difference. So I'm going to say that the initiative is a little bit more in Ratty's favor here with this 9 o'clock shuttle. Photon cannons warping in there for Ratti to maintain that advantage, sending forward a Zealot to try to get eyes on his opponent's army. He's going to find some High Templar here at the natural. Actually, he's going to be able to run all the way into the... He's actually able to get all the way into the main to get a look at the gateway count, as well as the spinning forge. Attacking the Templar Archives. Psystorm is not complete. I did not realize that. Neoko making his way down to the corner. Ratti as well. I think this is mostly an in-response play. Dragoon's able to take out that Zealot, so only periphery damage. Ratti going for additional scouting here bottom left. I think he wants to take out that probe, or at least spot to see whether this base is getting grabbed or not. Ratti, again, with a slight worker lead. He's got more shuttles out in the air. He's got the potential drop at the 9 o'clock, which I believe that shuttles back to full shields. Few Zealots running in uphill. This is a great engagement point for Ratti. And getting a Psystorm, also picking off at least an Observer in the midst of this. You can kind of see where the scales are balancing. Ratti actually surging ahead in supply. The shuttle making a bit of a motion up, but now that Zealot has managed to kill that probe bottom left, instead it's going to go ahead and opt to go ahead to clear the pylons there bottom left. High Templar making their way forward. Massive Psystorms over Neoko's army. And no Psystorms on the opposite side. Reavers also joining the fray. Just a lot more tech on this side. But we've got Archons that have barreled forward for Neoko and wiped out nearly everything. I'm going to admit, in a lot of these fights, I'm like, how is Ratti losing these? Neoko's just doing a fantastic job with focus fire, so getting some damage done. We got another shuttle drop making its way to the 1 o'clock. It looks like this is in fact going to land. And Ratti not responding. Oh! And after all of those probes getting wiped out, and the Archons going for additional damage into the no man's land here, Ratti actually running back out in the field. I think he might be making a dash. Is he going to make a dash bottom left is the question. Neoko trailing this army with some weakened Dragoons. Needs to be a little bit careful. But it's razor thin. Ratti's down on workers, but his army's larger. A Dark Templar in the midst of this, by the way. We do have a nice Observer discipline on both players thus far. Observers crossing Observers to the north just to see what's in between. We've got a... This could be the deciding fight right here. Neoko's trying to escort a probe here bottom left, but as a result, Ratti's getting a concentrated army with Psystorm across Neoko's scattered army. And despite there being a mighty Archon, the Archon getting absolutely shredded, so Neoko effectively donating an army. The probe is still going to make it here bottom left, but it's not going to be able to drop anything. Ratti now with significant supply, and 2 Reavers threatening the 9 o'clock location. A single Archon to ward off the rest of this troop. And this is in Psystorm range, so these workers could very easily get Psystormed. Archon trying to deal with it. Psystorm on the Zealots and the Dragoons instead. So Ratti thinking about going for a Nexus snipe rather than going for the worker wins and backing out. He has to be very careful in this slotted position though. But Neoko just does not have the armies right this second to contend with Ratti. Archon's continuing to move up. That getting sniped near immediately. Keep in mind that Scarab upgrade just shredding everything there. And now that 9 o'clock base is going to drop, and this is now Ratti's game. And again, on Deja Vu PvP, 3 base versus 3, that's where it ends. Great play from Ratti. Unfortunately for Neoko, I think the turning point was getting caught there, bottom left, with an incohesive attack force. Scattered attack force, probably the better word there. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to move on to Game 3. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.